欢迎收看今天的汉天新闻，我是赵子彤。首先来看国际方面的消息。当地时间周六，也就是在取代北美自由贸易协议的协定达成几天之后，墨西哥对美国国会提出的最终批准该协定的议案提出质疑。墨西哥外交部贸易谈判代表表示，美国国会提出的议案大部分符合典型的批准程序，但议案也增加了指定多达5个美国劳工检查人员在墨西哥监督劳工制度改革执行情况的内容。他们认为这不属于墨西哥、美国和加拿大12月10日在墨西哥城签署的取代北美自由贸易协定的协议，而是美国国会和行政当局政治决定的产物，并对此表达了不满。
With the strokes of 3 pens, a new USMCA trade deal was signed last week in Mexico City. More than just a trade deal, though, for the U.S., it was a moment of rare bipartisanship. Though it still needs to pass Congress, Chief Negotiator Robert Lighthizer called it a model for future trade deals. President Trump called it historic, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi agreed.
It's a victory for America's workers. It's one that we take great pride in advancing.
U.S., Mexican, and Canadian negotiators first agreed on a new deal last year, but House Democrats had several concerns, including about Mexican labor. Through a year of negotiations with the White House, they demanded that any deal included changes in Mexican labor law, with Americans on the ground in country making sure the new laws were followed. The bill now being considered by the House says that labor attachés will be based in Mexico, quote, to monitor and enforce the labor obligations of Mexico. The problem here, the Mexican government now says nobody told them that.
No fue por razones evidentes.
This provision was not consulted with Mexico, said Mexico's chief negotiator Saturday, and of course, we don't agree. As a part of this deal, Mexico did change its laws to make it easier for workers to unionize effectively. But when pressured during negotiations to accept outside inspectors at its work sites, Mexico long balked, saying they only agreed to participate in dispute resolution panels. Undersecretary Jesus Seade tweeted Sunday in part, quote, Mexico will never accept inspectors for a simple reason. Mexican law prohibits it. Seade says he will meet with U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer in Washington today. So does this mean the entire agreement is in jeopardy? Experts tell CNN probably not. For one, Mexico's Senate overwhelmingly approved the deal last Thursday, and the strong response from Mexican President López Obrador's administration over the weekend could simply be about domestic politics.
He wants to have that image that Mexico stood firm during the negotiation.
Plus, Mexico's economy isn't doing very well, and USMCA might help with that. Can Mexico afford to scuttle this deal?
No.
The U.S. House will likely vote on and pass the pact this week, but this is a 3-country deal. If Mexico were to walk away, the entire thing could collapse. And even if that's not likely, what we do know is that the agreement that looked ready to sail through Congress, that President Trump tweeted, quote, will be the best and most important trade deal ever made by the USA, just got a lot more complicated. Matt Rivers, CNN, Mexico City.
现年35岁的塔马拉·艾克莱斯顿是一名模特、电视节目主持人和社交名流，也是前1级方程式赛车首席执行官伯尼·埃克莱斯顿的女儿。上周五，她报案称自己位于伦敦的豪宅失窃，价值6-7千万的珠宝首饰被洗劫一空。这一大案马上引发了伦敦警方的重视。目前，多个安全部门正在联合进行调查。但截至日前，得到的线索非常有限，还没有任何嫌疑人被捕。
If you were a thief looking for an easy target, this is probably not the neighborhood that comes to mind. Yet police here in London confirmed that just after 11 o'clock on Friday, they were called here for a report of a burglary. The house in question, which is just down the road here, belongs to Tamara Eccleston. She is the daughter of Formula One CEO Bernie Eccleston. Her spokesperson called this a home invasion and said that her and her husband were left angry and shaken. According to the British tabloid The Sun, the couple had just left the country hours earlier for a vacation, and that the thieves took millions of dollars worth of jewelry, including a single bracelet worth more than $100,000 US. The obvious question is, how would thieves get inside a highly secure complex like this one and stay undetected long enough to steal that much jewelry? This postcode is one of the most exclusive in all of London, probably in all of the world. You're not even allowed to take pictures on the sidewalk. There's this gate post here 24/7, and the house is literally across the street from Kensington Palace. Plus, to get from where I'm standing to the home, just a couple hundred yards down the street, you have to walk past two heavily armed police officers who are on guard outside of the Israeli embassy just a couple of doors down. What makes this even more puzzling is that the latest police statement says that the call came from an internal security guard who reported 3 male suspects inside. The police here in London say they are reviewing security footage, and there was probably a lot of it, but so far no arrests have been made. Scott McLean, CNN, London.
美国与阿富汗塔利班代表日前在卡塔尔首都多哈重新启动新一轮和平谈判。这是自美国总统特朗普9月9日在白宫记者会上单方面宣布与塔利班终止和谈以来，双方再次正式公开坐在谈判桌前，就阿富汗和平以及未来愿景进行谈判。号称美国历史上最漫长，同时给阿富汗人民造成巨大创伤的阿富汗战争究竟如何收尾，引发了国际社会的广泛关注。
The senior military sources who've told CNN that the US president's likely to announce a drawdown of some 4,000 troops have also cautioned that this could take several days in the announcing. But it has been much telegraphed because the US president, of course, said during his campaign for election that he wanted to get out of that country, which he saw as a waste of American lives and of treasure. Nonetheless, that would bring the number down to about 8,600 US troops, down from a peak of close to 100,000 not many years ago. But from the position of many military commanders, this really has become a war that has gone on far too long, sucking so much money out of the US system with no end in sight. Very few of them would argue that there's a need to stay on there in any greater numbers. The Taliban have welcomed this move. They are back on with talks with direct talks with the United States, but those talks have excluded so far the Afghan government. The Taliban saying this is a step in the right direction, but they want to see US troops gone entirely before they join a permanent peace process. Ultimately, the interpretation of the Taliban will be critical over this drawdown. Do they see it as a victory over the US president and the United States forcing out 4,000 foreign soldiers, or is this seen by them as an act of goodwill, if you like, that the trajectory of the US is to get out, and therefore they have to switch perhaps their policies more towards the political realm and away from the military in order to win any kind of long-term support in Afghanistan? That will remain to be seen. This is going to be a long and fraught peace process involving already Pakistan, of course sponsored by Qatar, but many other nations are going to be involved. And ultimately, the Afghan government is going to have to sign up to any kind of proposals that the Americans come up with. Sam Kiley, CNN, Abu Dhabi.
非洲国家苏丹针对前总统巴希尔漫长的反抗运动终于有了一个结果。苏丹民众1年前不满总统巴希尔独裁，因此上街示威。军方于4月发动政变，推翻巴希尔并拘留他。苏丹法庭目前裁定巴希尔贪污及洗钱罪成立，判监2年。主审法官表示，考量到现年75岁的巴希尔年事已高，因此将他送往康复中心服刑。同时，巴希尔也被国际刑事法院通缉。国际刑事法院指控他在2000年代的达尔富尔冲突期间犯下战争罪行及实施种族灭绝。
It was a day I almost didn't believe could happen. After 3 decades of dictatorship, freedom. Or so we thought. As a Sudanese journalist, this story was always going to be a difficult one to cover. This is the story of a year that was 30 years in the making. And these are the stories that we told. It began in December 2018. We received videos from protesters documenting the upheaval. Thousands taking to the streets in defiance. Very quickly, a brutal crackdown begins. The then dictator Omar al-Bashir declared a state of emergency. Working with extraordinarily brave local journalists, we were able to report in-country, undercover. As I was growing up here, the government's grip on its people was all-encompassing. But a rise in the cost of living in recent years has triggered protests against one of the world's longest-serving dictators, President Omar al-Bashir. The Sudanese government doesn't want the world to know what's happening. Any journalist caught reporting on the demonstrations risks life imprisonment and the death penalty. However dangerous it was for us, it was so much worse for the protesters. Ghost houses, torture houses, which the government says don't exist. We went to try and find one. For all of us who grew up under Bashir's dictatorship, ghost houses conjures up immediately the horrors this government is accused of. Torture, sexual assault, brutal beatings. Right in the center of Khartoum, we find a heavy military and intelligence presence. On your left, a screened-off square, a holding pen. Activists picked up in the city center tell us they're beaten here and sorted according to their alleged crime. We broadcast our findings. US lawmakers stepped up their condemnation, and days later, Bashir was gone.
The question now is, of course, what now? The reality is there is no government. We're in a process of negotiation. But for all of those people that we've spoken to here, it already feels like a win to just have persevered to get this far.
It was almost too good to be true, and it was. The generals who surrounded Bashir were still here.
You find yourselves at the head of a coup. Why? What drove you to be part of this?
I am not heading a coup. The armed forces took a decision to side with the people. This is the wish of the people. What the armed forces are doing now is not a coup, but a taking the side of the civilians.
But that didn't last for long. These scenes triggered months of standoff between the military and civilian protesters. The images of women at the front line of the protests had defined the uprising, and they bore the brunt of the security forces' violent response. Nidal Ahmed was brutally beaten by government forces, and she's not alone. CNN has spoken to hundreds of women throughout the months of the uprising in Sudan. They say they were targeted by government forces for the worst violence because they were women. We put the question to former Sudanese intelligence officers. Are women intentionally being targeted? They refused to be filmed, but agreed to be quoted, telling CNN they were commanded by their superiors, Aksirul Banat, break the girls, because if you break the girls, you break the men. A 3-year power-sharing deal is agreed as Sudanese watch almost unimaginable scenes. Our former dictator standing trial for corruption. As he gestures for quiet, it's clear he doesn't quite believe it's over either. And it may not be. Bashir's generals are still in power, and with 3 years to go before elections, we Sudanese are bracing ourselves for whatever may come next. Ne'emal Bagher, CNN, London.
休息一下，马上回来。